same as in West Kentucky. You get one day, one another.
No.
Yeah.
They got an arm. Just,
Go to Brett Park.
Yeah. Right. I didn't know if you wanted to.
How are you?
Yeah, I'm thinking it was, I wasn't sure, I was a little confused.
I got a question for you guys.
Nope.
How are you,
Good,
Bob?
good, how are you? Good.
Joe, you look tired.
No, just frustrated here.
Should we make a run to Starbucks?
Cafe 30, coffee of the log.
Long days. Long days. So I need my computer now.
Printed copy.
Yeah, I'll send it over him. She just brought it to me. Yeah.
Call the meeting to order. Roll call.
Mayor Corbett? Here. Alderman Matthews?
Here.
Alderman Silver? Alderman Spicer?
Here.
Alderman Wall?
Here.
Need to adopt the agenda. Do we have a motion?
Motion to adopt.
Second?
Second.
All in favor?
Aye.
Opposed? Motion carries. Public comment.
Apologize if I don't pronounce these right. Matt?
Oh,
I apologize. I thought it was like a sign-in sheet.
oh, okay. Mark you off. Logan?
Same.
All right. Dean? Kegley?
Yes.
Step forward to the microphone. Oh. Yeah. How are you?
I wanted to address the board on the issues we have at 108 Winchester Court with flooding and stormwater. I know some, Mike Wall and several of you have been notified of it, and we're in the preliminary stages of getting information for that. This is an ongoing event that's been going on since shortly after the subdivision was built. We bought our house in 1997 in there. We had a little bit of flooding shortly afterward. They came out, checked the drains. They thought there was an issue with some straw going in from some new construction, and things were okay for a while. Later on, we had some issues that started pre-2010, just a little before, and in 2010, of course, now that I can understand. That was a catastrophic event all over Tennessee. After that, though, it became more regular for us. It was discovered that there was a culvert put in at the creek between the high school and our subdivision, which is Covington Heights subdivision. That was later removed, and that improved things for a little while again. With all the other construction that's going on, and with the age of our drainage system in our subdivision, it wasn't properly installed at times. There's, for lack of a better way, there's plastic corrugated stuff running under our cul-de-sac, and the city did send somebody out to inspect that, and it's undulating now. It's settled, and it's not flowing properly. And we know for a fact that when it does flood there, if we have a lot of rain, it gets vaporlocked. You can go to the end of it and you can see it gurgle out, and it doesn't drain. I'm uphill, and I've got neighbors that are downhill, and their ditch is empty, and mine's still full. It should work the other way around. So we have some serious issues going in there. It is flooded on a regular basis now. If we have more than 3 inches of rain, we get flooding. I'm on top of a hill in the subdivision, and yet our street is a low-lying area, and that drainage ditch floods and it comes into our basement. We've had up to 12 inches of water in our basement. We had it happen 3 times this summer. So I'm requesting that whatever can be done to fix this, that we do so, and we Mike, I appreciate the interest that you've shown, and we've gotten this far, but we've been forgotten over there for a while. Our streets are looking kinda rough, we've got potholes that, they never put the cap, the final layer of asphalt in that subdivision. I can't go over and visit one of my neighbors, or any of my neighbors, because when I roll over there, their driveways got a curve like this, because the road was never paved the right way, finished. It was just the initial paving done. Now, how it got by, but that's 20 years ago, or more. But my issue is the stormwater. If we can do anything to prevent my basement from flooding, we've got several of our neighbors here that are having the same issues. I've had significant expense from this. And of course, it's not covered under insurance. I'm not in the floodplain, And, I've done everything I can. I put a triple safe pump system in. I put new garage doors in to try to keep the water out. The pumps can't keep up with the amount of water that pushes around and through the garage doors. 3 half-horsepower pumps. I then bought a large, it's called a quick dam. It's basically a tarp that self-rises with the water level. We tried to put that out. Last time we had a rain event that flooded, it came up in the middle of the night. We were aware of it. We went down and tried to deploy that, and the water came up so fast we couldn't get it positioned before the water was coming in. So it's a big issue, and I wanted to come and let y'all know that it's affecting not just myself. There's about 7 of us in that neighborhood that are having repeated issues, and we'd like relief and for you to take it serious if you would.
I think that's why we're here.
It is, and I appreciate that. I'm not complaining.
No,
I'm asking for help and just want y'all to know that it is a major event, and it's affecting our property values too. You can't sell a house without disclosing that it's flooding, and, it's to the tune of several $100,000 if you look at it in that realm. So, and I've been there since 1997, and I'm asking for y'all to do what you can to help us out with that. Thank you.
Thank you.
Thank you, Dave.
Lisa Henderson?
Good evening to you all. I'd just like to piggyback on what my neighbors have said. My house is on Covington Bend. However, Winchester Court is like right behind my house. So that culvert runs in my backyard. And I literally have upwards of anywhere from 4 to 6 feet of water, standing water in my backyard. Because my yard slopes, it's not, it's more over to my right neighbor who happens to be here, and he gets flooded like home. I'm pretty sure you've all heard from him. But it's not affecting my home per se, but my backyard is really damaged. There's a lot of potholes in there, big holes that are developing and getting larger and larger. And when I purchased the home, I was not aware of any type of flood. That information was not disclosed to me at the time of purchase. So, needless to say, I was completely surprised when I saw that amount of water in my yard. It did kind of dissipate to some degree. It didn't flood my home, but my backyard is just suffering big time. And I have small children, and they play in the backyard a lot. That's like their little haven. And I like for it to remain safe if at all possible. So I just want to piggyback and echo what my neighbor just mentioned to you all, that you all can help us best way. Appreciate it.
You're at 305 Covington?
Yes, sir.
Okay. Awesome.
Thank you.
Thank you.
All right, new business, discuss the hydraulic analysis and cost estimate report for Covington Bend and Winchester Court.
Jason volunteer to speak.
Jason?
Hello, thank y'all. I mentioned I want to introduce myself, but this is Nettie Bull. She was a key engineer that was helping me do this study, and another one of our junior engineers was also helping us on the team. He's not here tonight, but in the case that I can't answer one of the detailed questions, Nettie's probably gonna jump in with me. You're welcome to ask her any questions that you want anyway. I'm not gonna rehash the whole report, other than to say, if you wanna look at the drainage map, something that's not in the report that I sort of think has happened to explain this a little better, is on the sheet that shows blue, green, and yellow. If y'all notice, the blue area is overwhelmingly larger than the others, like 86 acres or something. I think during this construction, some of the green area was actually part of that blue drainage basin. Because right where it comes up and crosses Covington Bend and a cross drain, there's a ditch that's very flat that runs behind all those houses. And if you look at some of the older maps, I think most of that before the construction was intended to go to that other pipe. Jerry and I were even discussing it today. If you notice, it can handle 500 years of capacity in that one pipe that's in the green basin, and I think that's not normal engineering design to, if you look in the report and see like a 5-year event that's over on Winchester, get a 500-year design on a pipe that's over on Covington that's separate. It's like, how did that happen? I think that drainage basin was intended to go through that 48-inch pipe, and there was some type of construction change that happened, and they probably deleted a section of pipe here or there somewhere. It comes across the road and now goes over to, y'all shaking your heads?
No.
I'm just
Not in
not in that
disagreement,
view.
just in,
Yeah.
can't believe this.
Oh, okay, yeah. So, I mean, you're talking 30 years ago. I'm just saying, it jumped out at me as odd as why would we have a 5-year design event on one pipe and 500 on the other. So, nonetheless, we're still stuck with this situation, which is why you don't see us making any improvement recommendations on that other pipe. It's good to go in all the storm events. So, and with this rerouting of unintended storm events through those backyards and which sort of hooks around all those, it probably was not a 5-year design on that pipe. It was probably a 10 or 25 actually, something like that. But when they diverted that water to it, our analysis says it's not supposed to happen much. So if y'all understand all the report, that's the summary that it had. You know, each one of those design years are there, and then we got into the recommendations that said if you want to improve it to the 50-year storm event, 100-year storm event, and someone had requested even reviewing the 500-year event, which I can say we have done it on probably 5% or less of our projects is analyzed to that level, but we did. And then I could say I would never install a project or follow that design level. But nonetheless, we have those estimates here for your guys' consideration, which is if you wanted to make the improvements to each one of those key features that are in there, that's the pipe, the ditch, and then the pipe section again as you move downstream. That would take it from the 5-year event up to whichever one of those three that you choose.
Jason, can you, the difference between 30 years ago and what we do today, and then about the inspections and things that we're doing today that are so much different, and then when you're looking at designs, what, in our new subdivisions, which none of them flooded, what year are we at with those, that infrastructure?
Right. Our city regulation says the engineers are to design to a 10, a 25, or a 50-year storm event, depending on how much flow is in the channel that you're looking at. Doesn't matter if it's a ditch, stream, whatever. That's your design criteria. All your detention ponds, which is not what we're looking at here, are designed for a 100-year event. But all of our cross drains, side drains, pipes that are in subdivisions are either a 10, 25, or 50 year.
But they have detention, would a detention area make any difference in this area?
No, and not unless it were upstream. You know, I mean, we very roughly looked at some of those options, but there's really no option to do that on this project.
We didn't have inspectors back then, we talked about that.
That's
Our
right,
planning department
that's what I was getting at
had an
is,
inspector would go out and look at something.
Yeah.
Professional stormwater inspectors like we have today.
there's sort of three things that I think, if you compare this subdivision to some of our new ones,
Yeah.
is they were designed differently then than now. I mean, it is not uncommon in a subdivision anyway to find 2 or 5 year design, but it was sort of common about that time, say 30 years ago, that it was 10 might be reasonable, but there's a lot of structures that we've reanalyzed that would be 5 years. So that's one thing. Today, that's the difference. The engineers on the front end, this is working on behalf of the developers. They're designing to our regulations, which is holding them to 10 at a minimum, and then 25 or 50, coupled with the detention beyond that. So that's level one. The other one that we talked about that was major was there's a lot more thorough review that happens today in White House than when this subdivision would have been in. So a lot of, not just your engineers that are designing it, but a whole team of people that are reviewing it. And one of the big ones, like this one, I think there was a construction adjustment.
Yeah, that's what I was just gonna say.
And we've got a team of inspectors that are out there checking projects now, and I can tell you, even when I started here, which was, I don't know, 13 years ago or something like that, it wasn't even close to the inspection that we get now. It might have been Tony, whose major responsibility is checking, structural features on the house, and he would get, extra tasks, and that was, secondary tasks at that he would do some of that stuff. So it's a big difference today, which is what we were talking about. That's why our subdivisions don't see the same problems as Coven communities.
Is there a way to know how much water is coming from outside of our subdivision? I mean, that drainage starts clear across the other side of Meadows and up behind those subdivisions. So, I mean, is there a way to slow some of that water down before it even gets to that point?
Well, a detention pond is what we were talking about. I just don't think there's a valid way to do that. For one, if you look at where you're gonna do that, you've gotta come all the way out of the subdivision to one, find any space to do it. So that cuts that big blue basin in about half. Well, guess what? That upstream area has probably got a third or less of the runoff because it's not developed. All your development runoff is on the lower area that's, no room to build one. So
Development
not a
was-
lot.
How much space would you need for a detention pond?
I don't know, haven't designed it. I mean, it's a volume calculation, so it depends on how much elevation you got as far as how much space you need. I have no idea.
But you don't think a detention pond is any part of the recommendation, or you would have made it in this report?
I mean, we looked, roughly for one of those. I don't think it's the right solution. Not when the pipe analysis tells you that it's 5 years and versus a 500-year design. That to me says that the pipe's way undersized for the water that's coming to it. Yeah, you can slow it down, but that water, there's something wrong with the pipe network itself, in my opinion.
What about on the other end, when it goes out to the creek on the other side of Covington Bend? Is there a problem with it going downstream down that dry creek bed?
On the south side, is that what you're talking about?
Yeah, when it hits the main creek down there below the high school.
We did not review any of that. Our evaluation stopped where it releases, on the south side of the road.
Okay, because I just never, going through there and walking it when I did, never had an opportunity to see what that creek bed looked like, if anything was backing up. But I know the creek below the house there, that main creek there at the Greenway, it widens out, and of course, that's gonna get fed from up there.
Yeah, it does, but the timing of those are a lot different. You know what I'm saying? If you go to that point where this area drains to that creek, the timing is way different. So to me, it's not really worth looking at what's going on in that creek versus this. I mean, you're talking about barely over 100 acre drainage basin, where if you go over there and measure it in that creek, you're going to have thousands of acres.
I know we've got some sinkage, some of the lines have sunk, and, it's the feeder right there off on Lake Winchester's, what, 13 inches below where it goes out. You know, the pipe behind 305, I don't believe was supposed to be there as far as construction changes. You know, I have an idea how that got there, but my concern is these folks have struggled for a long time. So, you know, we've got to try to make sure that we're as close to right as we can be. So, you know, if there's a way to slow that water down, because there's no new construction here that has changed it, so something else changed it.
If we fix the flow and it goes down to the creek, is that gonna create more flooding on that side? Do you understand what I'm asking? Is that a dumb question?
No, it's completely valid. It's going
I
to
don't wanna fix
improve
one
it for what
problem
it
to
should have
create
been
another
originally.
one.
But yes, that's a catch-22 problem that I've battled for a long time, since I've been doing this. But it should have had more capacity, would be my argument, to that. It's the same thing we did on other projects. You're opening it back up to what it should be, but yes, there will be more flow downstream.
I mean, you got Greenway or 7 or 8 houses.
Right, I mean, I'm just asking, like, if it's gonna create additional flooding as you go down farther.
I mean, it's bad all the way through there.
When you say we've got, the new regulations, we got 10, 20, and 50 years, is that like they get to pick which one they want, or is it?
No,
Okay.
it depends on the size of the channel. So if
Okay.
you got something smaller, a smaller ditch drain, it's
Yeah.
gonna be 10-year design.
Okay.
Get up something bigger, to where it's more of what we consider, honey run or something, it's gonna be 50 years.
Okay.
So something this big, the recommendation would have been what?
10.
And we could look at that during the UDC, update. I think it would be worth looking at, Gerald, so.
Well, I want to make a suggestion that when we go further in this discussion, that anybody that has not walked the neighborhood, do so. Schedule with Isaiah, let him show you the things, you know, you can look at it on this paper all day long, but until you've walked it and seen what needs to be done, I mean, you won't understand it fully. So,
Yeah. And if you're gonna do that, there's no doubt, go in the rain.
yeah.
Everyone that I work with, in our office, but other folks, I used to be on Robertson County's Highway Department and help them with that commission, but I explained that going in the rain makes all the difference in the world, and you can understand what the problem is. So, even out there in the dry, it may not be obvious to what's going on, but if you go when it's raining, you will see it. The one thing I didn't want to forget in this option, it's not necessary to have analyzed this, wouldn't change anything, but with the homeowner noting undulating pipe, and he said under the cul-de-sac, I will say we did not evaluate the conditions of that pipe that runs underneath it, and I did not receive any video. Didn't know we had it. It would not have changed any of this hydraulic analysis, because that's not an issue with that catch basin that's on that side of the cul-de-sac. There's very little drainage there, and it's already in the overall basin that we looked at here. But if this estimate does not include replacing that pipe that runs across the road, but that is a necessity that would need to be added.
Well, it comes in, hits a wall, goes left, hits another wall, goes right, and then drops out right there under Winchester, underneath Winchester, is what I'm talking about. So it hits a wall, turns left, goes down, hits another wall, goes right. It really needs to be probably straightened out. It would help the overall flow, I'm assuming, but, you know, you got the same situation over on Covington Bend. You know, when I was over there the day, they were with the cameras, and I watched how that worked, you know, and it's amazing that it got put that way to begin with.
Yeah, we still don't have construction plans to do this, and we can evaluate that at that time, but that may be a tough task, because you can straighten that out, could, yes, definitely help the flows, but you still gotta deal with those catch basins that are there. That road grading is dealt with, i.e. the one upper catch basin's not gonna change, that pipe's still coming across the cul-de-sac. But the one you're talking about, where there's a box underneath the catch basin where it makes that sharp turn, you can't get rid of the catch basin. You can straighten the pipe, but you still gotta come back over to it. Now you got a blind box.
During May and June, that
Under the
water,
road.
tell me if I'm wrong, Dean, during May and June, water was shooting out of the top of coming out of those things?
It was.
Yeah, so it's,
I mean, you know, water tends to flow
with the least resistance. And for anybody to think that water can flow and slam straight into a wall and make a left-hand turn, and slam straight into another wall and make a right-hand turn, I mean, it just defies all comprehension.
Yeah, it's
And,
yeah.
you know, when that pipe is not full, that's not a problem. When that pipe gets full though, now the water don't go, you've got so much back pressure that it builds up behind it.
Yeah, same
And
thing.
people actually push up out of it, and we had some springs, and I think I showed you some video, where water just shooting up out of the ground between that house and another house.
The Bakers, between the Bakers and 305, they've got that drain there, and I have a feeling that's where the majority of their flooding comes from, is because it backs up, goes up, and it's just spreading out. So, you know, it's,
So to
Each
fix
time
that,
we
it's
have
not
an
in
event,
here.
one of my neighbors goes out there and cleans those drains too, because, you know, everything is low right there, so everything catches.
how was it yesterday with the rain we had yesterday?
Yesterday's rain was more steady,
Yeah.
and we didn't have any real issues. As long as it's a light rain or a real steady rain over a long period of time, it can handle that.
Of course, May and June, you were completely saturated, and we had unheard of events, you know,
Right.
for a month there, so it, you know, hopefully that's not gonna happen, you know, between now and the time we get this fixed, so, but.
One thing I'd like to add, you know, is it happened 3 times in one day,
Mhm.
back in May or June.
Right.
And the thing that I kept hearing for a while was this was an unusual rain event. This was an unusual rain event. Well, by very definition, if it happens, you know, 3 times in 2 months, it's not unusual anymore.
Right.
Well, I would beg to differ that 14 inches of rain in one day is an
We didn't have
anomaly.
14 inches then.
No.
It was 5 inches. Now, you may have had 14 where you were at, but we have a rain gauge. It was 5 inches of rain.
All right, so on these 50, 100, 500, you, I mean, is there, you have a, would 50 fix it, in your opinion, or? Right.
In fact, yeah, that to me is the most reasonable solution, is the 50-year solution. For one, that would be equivalent to our highest level of design that we require in the city, anywhere. And it's 2 levels higher than what would be required if somebody else does a new subdivision here today. And the one thing.
10, right?
Excuse me?
On something like this, it would be 10.
Yeah, that's right. So, to me, I mean, yeah, I understand you could spend more money and fix it better. What that means is you have a less frequent flooding. It doesn't mean you can't get a storm event that's a 1,000-year event and it gets flooded again. It just means it's gonna happen less often. But my point is, we got a lot of stormwater issues around here, and you can take that difference between a 50 and a 100-year storm event and go to another project.
Yep.
Yeah,
Instead of having one that's top of the line.
Yep.
Right.
And we have, you know, several projects we're looking at, obviously, plus the grant, and we got our stormwater advisory board earlier today, looking at the projects we're working on, but, you know, we're focused on, obviously, Alderman Wall brought this to our attention after this. I think this is really good. This is a good study, and I like what we see here. I think it's important to look at that, and then we have, our Calista Pond expansion over there. We have one on Oakdale that we're working on too, trying to get the properties there, so I think if we get some of these properties lined up like I need, going into this, and we're gonna start our budget process in January.
Right.
Isaiah, I'm certain is gonna bring this to the table, to look at the prioritization of the project for stormwater plan. This may rise as the #1 project for next year. It possibly could be funded with our current, funds that we have coming into stormwater. So I'm just grateful that y'all have done this. I'm grateful that the residents have brought this to Alderman Wall's attention, how important this is. We have other areas too, but this one, we put a lot of work into, and I think that it's something reasonable to look at, so.
Okay. Do I have any other questions, thoughts, discussion? No?
I'm good.
Okay. I guess we'll move
Wait a
on.
minute. Dave, he came in late. Can he say something?
Sure.
Yeah.
Craig,
I can say anything here if you want me to.
come on up.
Oh, it's just real quick, I just wanted to say that to his invitation to come walk our neighborhood, when you're making the decision about what you want to do, which I hope is the obvious decision that we're able to fix this. If you walk the neighborhood, please stop by my house. I have the brunt, along with Derek over here. He gets up to my knees. My car was flooded. I know he's lost 2 cars. But I've got a crawl space. And currently, I have mold and mildew growing all underneath my house. I've already done it myself once. It came back again because it flooded again. The whole house has a musty smell coming up. I can't even begin to budget somebody to encapsulate under my house. Because as soon as they do it, we're talking thousands of dollars. As soon as they do it, it's just gonna come running back in again. So, that's all I wanted to say. You're welcome to knock on my door at 105 Winchester. And I will let you, as weird as it sounds, smell my house. It comes up from everywhere, you know, it's just, it's horrible. I had a pipe dream that maybe when FEMA or TEMA came by a couple times that they might throw something at it to help me get it fixed, but unfortunately the east side of Tennessee got really hit hard and I can't complain. But Mike's been great trying to help us, and I just hope that you guys will consider these things. You know, I don't know what's growing under my house right now, but it's kind of hard for me anymore to get up under there and start spraying everything again. If I get somebody to do it, it's just going to come back. So I'm right next to the ditch, by the way, so gives you an idea when it backs up. It comes right into my driveway, my garage. So that's it. Just appeal for you, please.
Kids shouldn't be kayaking in the middle of Winchester Court.
Yes.
Yeah.
We had guys kayaking. I have videos of guys in kayaks.
How about it?
You know, my kids. Were they? Yeah. I think this should be able to be carved out somewhere to take care of this. I mean, you know, I don't mean this the way it may sound. We've got a beautiful city hall now. We've got a really nice soccer field. We've got a really nice center being built here. And all we want is a way to continue living here without the fear of us, you know, losing our houses. It comes into my house too. It comes like 2-3 steps in. So, did you want to say something?
No, not teacher, I was gonna ask my question there.
Well, thank you very much.
Thank you, Craig.
Jason, are there any easements that are gonna have to be obtained to be able to accomplish what you think our number 50 or so might be?
Do you recall any of that?
Easements or right of ways?
For the upper portion, no,
Like Creekwood. Gets a little tight going through there, I guess.
Maybe just when they're regrading in that creek.
Temporary construction easement or something.
Yeah.
I'm not sure, Jerry. I don't think so.
Yeah, because I would want to pursue that as soon as we could possibly do that. But I'm trying to get all the property situations taken care of this year as much as we can, so that we can get some work done next year. Not saying we're not doing work now, we are working on a lot of small projects right now, but this is a big project. You know, we just finished up $1 million project in Indian Ridge. This is gonna be a large project, and then Wilson River is gonna be a large project too.
You think we should look at a pond option too?
He just said he didn't think it was gonna
I mean,
be something.
he said he didn't really look at that closely, but do you think it would be?
I think if there is, this would be the time for him to review that, if that's the case, but if that's what you want them to do, I'd take a look at that, if that's a possibility. But I don't know where that land would come from.
Right.
Yeah.
For the long stretch, the 471 feet, can any of that be open ditch, or do you think it all should be underground? When we're running the 471 feet of, if we go with the 50-year event, 60-inch.
The low end of the project?
Yeah,
I'm trying to look and
yeah,
see.
so it's on the estimate. And how would that impact cost, I guess? If we went
That used to be ditch, through that property backyard. So, I mean, that's the issue you're dealing with there, is how to deal with that property.
sediment built up, or it was ditched. Was it to the capacity it needed to be? Is that what you're saying?
No, I'm saying it used to be ditched.
Okay.
There was a ditch through their backyard, side yard, and now it has a pipe in it.
Okay.
So to convert it back, sure, ditches low grade relative to pipes. But that's a different subject as far as, dealing with that specific homeowner.
Okay.
I don't think if there's easements needed, I would like to think the property owners would be willing to really help us, especially if we're coming in and making these huge improvements, so hopefully that's not an obstacle.
Well, you'll let me know
Yeah.
if there is, you see something.
If there is what?
If there's an easement that we may have to obtain or something.
Yeah, we didn't do any boundary surveys on this. This was, you know, the survey that we did take was relative to the pipes, you know,
Okay.
so that we could do the analysis, but it wasn't to research easements and stuff, but we can. But just from the experience working there, and knowing what's there, the part that makes me concerned about easements, I wasn't sure what you were talking about with Creekwood, but it's across that one property that we were just talking about, from where it comes into their backyard until it gets back over to the street. I don't know if that's on their property line and we're dealing with a public utility and drainage easement that's there, or if it's sort of coming diagonal across their property and there's a specific easement, or when you got subdivisions this old, there's a potential that there's a drainage way there and there is no easement.
Right.
So, I'm not positive.
Okay,
Dig into that.
I appreciate it.
I'm sure nobody will have a problem though.
I would think so.
Hopefully.
Sounds like you're talking about my property, but, yeah, I'm willing for open discussion about it.
Okay.
Okay, good. I guess something we'll address at the budget retreat
Oh, yeah.
in more detail. And
It'll be up to Isaiah and anything else you want to add?
If I may, I spoke to Ms. Henderson quite frequently about this issue, and in her backyard, there is a drainage easement there. According to the original construction documents, it was a 3-foot ditch, from top of ditch to toe of ditch, and it was 3 to 1 sloping sides coming into that ditch. So it was on the original construction documents, and it is identified as a PUDE on the original construction documents. In that particular area, that's not everywhere through there, but in
So,
Ms. Henderson's case.
Isaiah, for budget purposes, let's make sure we encompass everything we need to encompass, the easements, the road work that has to be done with the sharp turn pipes. Like, I wanna see everything so that we know what we're really looking at.
Yes, ma'am. Definitely.
And I think the direction, what I've heard is we'd like to look at the 50-year option. Yeah.
I don't wanna shortchange it though.
His recommendation was that would be more than sufficient.
I mean, the newer subdivisions are only 10.
10.
So we're
Yeah,
giving them.
but we're also looking at,
40 extra
and
years.
Isaiah and I talked about this, you know, the state TDEC, I mean, the minimum regulations are what? We're looking at minimum regulations, correct?
There is none from TDEC on this type of issue.
There's none? Okay. All right, so we have, but as far as, is there some sort of state regulations as far as minimum? Okay. All right, well, we don't wanna shortchange it. That's all I'm saying.
Well, I don't think
I've seen the amount of water that's back there, and it's insane. So we gotta make sure we do it right.
This is making it 10 times better than a lot of instances. If it's a 5-year.
We gotta make it right, and that's what I'm saying. You need to walk back there and just walk it and see what we're looking at.
Right.
So it's, you know, I feel for these folks. They've lost.
Yeah, I do too.
As we go through the budget process, we'll look at, you know, how do we pay for something like
Right.
this? Do we have enough money in our stormwater fund, or do we need to add some from the general fund to it?
Right.
But, you know, but that'll all be about prioritization, how we,
Is there any kind of grants that we could get with something like this?
I mean, we're trying now with TEMA, but is there anything
Yeah.
else that you have, Isaiah?
There was a FEMA grant that we're attempting to get, and then Jerry brought it to my attention in a department head staff meeting that I don't know very much about it. It's very preliminary right now, but I'm looking into, sort of an SRF type loan.
That's right, we talked about that.
We talked about that, so that's something that, it's very, very preliminary, but
Yeah,
maybe
TDEC offers that,
another route.
we only use it for wastewater now, but, you know, you can get a 1% or 2%,
Right.
and sometimes loan forgiveness type thing, so.
Right.
We definitely wanna explore that path as something we may wanna do, but if we could cash it, it's always
Yeah.
better.
Right.
Yeah, always better.
Yep.
All right, any other discussion?
I'll see if anybody else wants to say anything before.
Gentleman from ADS, I believe, are you guys going to speak?
You have a question for him?
Yeah, so, Gerald, are we gonna do this, during this session, or do you
Well,
want?
I mentioned there was a question about whether or not our concrete, versus the plastic pipe, which would be more cost efficient. We talked about, we've had a couple of fires in our plastic
Yeah.
pipes under roads and areas, and so, Sam brought to my attention that we could certainly have someone come here and if they're talking about the differences, if they want to, and if that's up to you, if you want the board, if you want to have them come up and say something, they're here. So, talk about their product.
So what I've asked them to do is to present to us, their product and, what the differences are that they have that could be available to the city to use. Right now, we've removed, some of the products out of our, ordinance, and, you know, it's something I think we should look at because it impacts cost. And anyways, they have some technical information. They're experts in it, we're not, so.
Yeah, I mean, that's maybe something we can schedule for, it's not on the agenda as an agenda item.
I will, if you're okay with it, I'll leave this with you
Yeah,
all when
be
I
great.
come back.
That's fine.
There's one thing is the study that shows over a span of time with open competition and closed competition. And that was done to Texas DOT, which we have an approval for. I'll be glad to educate anybody on, this sort of stuff. I understand if you don't have it on the docket today, I don't want to waste anybody's time. But I'm glad to come back.
Yeah, that's fine.
Some of this stuff is pretty engineering, so I might, because you're not in that background, but,
Thank you.
the one thing for you all is look at that competition study. And one thing I'll say is, you were talking about back when you didn't have inspectors and whatnot, we really preach performance-based specs, so you get what you pay for. And one of the things in Florida DOT, all they use now is this great pipe because it's a performance-based spec, and they only allow for 1/8 of an inch. And basically you don't get a leaky joint out of the pipe when you put those performance-based specs in.
How about putting fireworks inside, burning it up? That's happened to us twice.
Yeah.
Horrible experience twice.
I understand that could be,
Our insurance not cover that?
I understand that could be a concern. There's end treatments you can do because anybody crawling in the pipe, whether it be concrete or rust, can be dangerous.
Right.
So you can do end treatments. Also, you don't want any kids going in the storm water pipe. Even at like 36 inches, OSHA, you're supposed to have closed regulations. So my answer to that is that happens so far in between